Keep up if you can with the super speedster of the Squadron Supreme, better known as Blur, and see what part he played in the disappearance of the Avengers. All this and more in the pages of Heroes Reborn issue number 3. Let's hop on in together and find out what happens next, shall we? So then, much like the previous issue gave us front row seats to a day in the life of Hyperion, this third issue likewise allows us to tag along with Blur. Real name Stanley Stewart, and the third man to have the rather unfortunate moniker of Whizzer, but then again the comic doesn't really touch on that. That's just a fun factoid you get from watching Cape Joel videos. Now where Hyperion's life seemed kinda normal and almost a little wholesome, Stanley's life is anything but. He has supercharged attention deficit disorder, has 20 phones, 48 TVs all going at one time, as well as multiple different dates planned on multiple different continents. Yeah, this guy gets bored very easily and yet somehow manages to work in being a superhero. That is when he actually remembers what era and time he's in, because when you're a super speedster, that stuff is all just kinda relative to you. Now, obviously, I don't have to tell you that Blur is totally a pastiche of DC Comics' The Flash, and keeping up with that, we have some pastiche villains. Though admittedly, there's much less of that thing going on here in this issue. Instead of Gorilla Grodd and Gorilla City, we have Ursa Major of the Winter Guard, or is it Widow Guard in this universe, and Grizzly City. Believe it or not though, that was just a fun aside, and the real meat and potatoes of this issue actually has us going back a little bit to the first issue of Heroes Reborn and the attack on Washington, D.C. You'll remember there, Blur did battle with the Silver Witch, a version of Wanda Maximoff who, without the Avengers to help rehab her, stayed a villain, and who after the death of her brother Quicksilver ended up absorbing his super speed, turning her into the Speedster Supreme. Yeah, there's a fair amount of that going on. Silver Witch decides to try and steal Blur's soul, and that's basically the bulk of the issue, him trying to get it back, by basically doing what the Flash does in every Flash story, and that is run faster than he ever has before. Well, we get a ton of little fun references and callbacks. We get the mindless ones of the Dark Dimension, who I guess are kind of like the Speed Force Reapers for the purposes of this story. Blur eventually decides to catch up by phasing himself in and out of his own timeline, in doing so reliving one of his greatest crowning achievements when he outrun the Ghost Runner, a version of Johnny Blaze who I'm guessing never became a motorcycle stunt driver but kept the leather aesthetic anyway. Huh, crazy. We also get a little flashback to see how Blur ended up mastering his super speed. Apparently when he first got his powers, he was almost driven insane by how quick the world around him was going. Luckily, he was able to receive tutelage at Kamar-Taj by the Ancient One. Yeah, I guess there's no Doctor Strange in this universe either. His teaching was very Karate Kid, and that is he was told to concentrate on a flower, only one flower, nothing but the flower. In being forced to concentrate and slow down the world around him, Blur was also forced to understand the beauty of the world, which helped reinforce him as a hero. And it's by calling upon this training that Blur is ultimately able to overpower and defeat the Silver Witch, who ends up getting carted off to Ravencroft Asylum, which has always kind of been a pastiche of Arkham Asylum, but here even more so in this story. But wait, we're not done yet. What Flash referencing story would be complete without a race? Only it's not Blur racing Hyperion like you think it might be, it's Blur racing Eternity. Yeah, that's right everyone, the uber-powerful cosmic entity of Marvel lore who seems more or less unchanged in this universe, which begs a lot of questions. Now much like the issue that preceded it, this one comes packing a backup story that you most certainly need to read because that's where all the real movement from the Heroes Reborn story seems to be. We're once again at Ravencroft Asylum, where we see Bullseye, who is surprisingly unchanged by all these major shifting cosmic events, trying to kill another inmate before eventually bursting into flames. And that would be because of the late intervention of Maya, aka Echo, aka the newest owner of the Phoenix Force. That all happened at the end of the previous Aaron Avengers story. And even though her own memories are fractured at the moment, she admits that it can't be a coincidence that right around the time she achieved amazing cosmic power, the universe ended up getting rewritten. It's right around this time too, Blade and Captain America end up showing up to try and recruit Echo into their brand new fellowship to try and get the world back to its old ways, even if it means having to burn down the Squadron Supreme to do so. And so that was Heroes Reborn issue number 3, everybody. And while I certainly don't mean this as a criticism, the longer this series goes on, the more I start to think that this was never meant to be Marvel's next big summer event, but just the next chapter in Aaron's Avengers saga. But maybe everyone in editorial or creative just loved the idea of getting to do all these pastiches of DC superheroes in the Marvel Universe and see who would become what, and really I can't blame them for that. It's fun to see. I don't think Blur's personal story is nearly as interesting as Hyperion was, but they are certainly setting up this idea that the Squadron Supreme are not in themselves evil, but they're just being manipulated and corrupted at the moment. I have to wonder, by the time everything is said and done, will we actually see a face turn from the Squadron Supreme? Maybe they'll join forces with the Avengers and defeat Coulson and Mephisto and whoever else may be pulling the strings. Overall, I'd give this a 7 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Jewel, and if you're seeing me right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, which I am very appreciative of. It really helps drive engagement and retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. So does liking and commenting. Wink wink. If you like my content too, you should check out my Patreon page. We just redid all the tiers, so there's a ton of great rewards. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and well, it would just really help me out. It's never expected, but always appreciated. So until next time everyone, I've been Cape Joel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.